Last year was full of surprises in the NBA, like Giannis overcoming his demons and leading the Bucks to an NBA championship, and there was no shortage of excitement for fans. But now the parades and celebrations are over, and teams are hard at work with the goal of hoisting the Larry O'Brien Trophy for themselves at the end of this year. I've ranked the top teams that have a shot at winning it all this season. Let's go. First up, the Golden State Warriors. First, we have the Golden State Warriors, who will finally have the Splash Brothers back together again, something that should help them out a ton depending on how Klay looks after coming back from 2 killer injuries. Steph will still be Steph, of course, but the Warriors are going to need some other guys to help out, as last year it was basically the Curry show throughout the entire season. The Warriors are going to need a lot of help from their support players, as well as hope that Otto Porter becomes the third Splash Bro that the Bay Area needs to raise their first banner at the new Chase Arena. Their championship experience should help them, and we'll see if the return of Andre Iguodala does anything to bring back some of that magic from their historic runs in the mid-2010s. Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers would be much higher on this list if we made it before the playoffs last season. Under Doc Rivers, Philly really seemed to be under progress towards their lofty expectations. But now, they really don't have much more than a puncher's chance at winning as the roster is constructed. Ben Simmons seems like he's played his last game as a member of the team in that dreadful Game 7, and I'm unsure that the Sixers can get back enough from the former number 1 pick to think that they can realistically beat teams like Milwaukee, Brooklyn, or Miami. Joel Embiid was spectacular last season and carried them through most of their playoff run. He's probably the best center in the NBA, and the Sixers will look to build around him to gear up for a title run. I don't expect to see it all come together this season. Patience is probably going to be a buzzword for this organization. Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks shocked a lot of people last season. After firing their head coach midway through the campaign, they were rewarded with a surging bunch of young players hungry to prove themselves. And they did it, with magical performances to snuff the Knicks and overcome the Sixers. Trae Young emerged as a superstar and proved to any remaining critics that he's going to be here for a long time. The Hawks are going to have to prove that they can maintain that level of play for a full season now, and nobody is going to underestimate them anymore. But as long as the core plays like they did throughout the second half of the season, they could be competing for a top 3 seed in the East this season. Utah Jazz. I'm sure there are some upset Utah fans seeing their team ranked this low, but give me a second to explain before you get the pitchforks out. I really love the addition of Rudy Gay to the roster, and it'll be interesting to see if Coach Quinn Snyder experiments with a small ball lineup that could help them out in certain matchup scenarios. However, I feel similarly to this Jazz team as I did with the Raptors when they had Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. There's a reason that they had the best record in the West, but still couldn't scare the league, and it comes down to how different the playoffs are than the regular season. The Jazz took a 2-0 lead only to drop 4 in a row to the Clippers, something that's worrying. There are some great additions to the roster, and I'm hoping they prove me wrong, but the Jazz are going to have to prove that they can win the playoffs before I take them seriously as a contender. Denver Nuggets. Last year was an unfortunate one for the Nugs as they lost Jamal Murray pretty early and had to battle without him. Nikola Jokic did win an MVP, and Michael Porter Jr. took major strides to becoming a star, and so there's a strong possibility that this team could make noise once again in the postseason. If everyone is healthy, this could easily be a top 4 team in the West. That is a big if though, big if. And it'll be interesting to see if Porter adjusts to becoming the third option once again when Murray returns. We learned in the bubble not to count out this team, no matter the odds. Miami Heat. The Heat had a tough season last year after making it all the way to the finals the year prior. Their shooters struggled, Tyler Herro looked way worse, and Jimmy Butler missed a lot of time. Then they went from bullies to bullied against Milwaukee, convincingly getting swept after knocking them out the year prior. This year looks to be different, with Kyle Lowry heading south from Toronto and PJ Tucker adding even more defensive power to an already scary-looking roster to play against. This team is going to grind, and they're going to get after you, and that seems perfect for a Jimmy Butler-led unit. An interesting thing to watch for is how effective Victor Oladipo is going to be this season. The guy has had some seriously bad injury luck the last few seasons, but we all know how good he once was. If the Heat can get any of that Oladipo this season, they could be a really tough team come playoff time. Phoenix Suns. The Suns went from barely missing the bubble playoffs 2 years ago to barely missing out on an NBA championship this past year. But don't expect for them to just drop off a cliff and go away now that they lost. The team lost a little in the bench depth, as most teams that will make the finals do, but otherwise kept most of their roster intact. They'll be hoping for another solid season from Paul and the continued brilliance and improvement of young superstar Devin Booker, who tasted the playoffs for the first time last year. The expectations of this team will still very much be championship or bust, especially with the CP3's age playing a factor in their future plans. Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers got hit with the injury bug hard hard last season, as well as making some risky plays that didn't really pay off for them. Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder failed to play up to expectations from their time with their previous teams, and the team lost LeBron for a significant time as well. This year, the Lakers stocked up on vets, with Carmelo and Westbrook arriving and Rondo and Howard returning from their championship run. The team looks like it'll be tough defensively, and Russ and Melo are guaranteed to have some big games of their own. All in all, this is an interesting team that will be a must-watch this season, and it's probably the best team with major roster turnover this year. Milwaukee Bucks. The defending champ Milwaukee Bucks always seem to be getting disrespected, don't they? I really wanted to put them in the top spot, but Bud Holzer gives me pause. The coach bungled most of the postseason last year, and if it wasn't for some amazing plays from Giannis and company, as well as some horrible injury luck for the Nets, this team may not have won it all in the first place. But enough of the worries, let's talk about the good. Giannis continues to evolve every offseason like some kind of Pokemon, and I expect to see some new wrinkles to his game once again this year. The supporting cast is strong as well, and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton will be huge in their title defense. This team could beat anyone in the league, as they proved last season. And with the star power in Brooklyn and LA, they don't have to worry about the pressure of being the favorites. Brooklyn Nets. The Nets are an enigma, full of drama and weirdness, but also beautiful basketball team with tremendous talent. Kevin Durant proved when Harden was robbed and Irvin was out against Milwaukee that he can still do it all on his own, and pushed Milwaukee to a Game 7 overtime just to beat him. But this team could be the best defensive team of all time, but only if it all comes together. An offseason together should help with chemistry, which honestly didn't seem like much of an issue in the relatively short time we got to see Harden, KD, and Irving together last year. But news that Irving may not want to get vaccinated hurt a lot, since he would miss a lot of games and wouldn't be able to practice with the team. This number one spot on the list is only if all three men are healthy and focused, but it seems like that might be huge. It's a shame too, because last year they treated us to some of the best basketball we've ever seen. That's all for today, guys. Do you agree with the list? Leave a comment down below and let me know. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Take care. We'll catch you on the next one.